So here's solve by factoring again, but this time we are faced with a much more complicated problem. So since a is not 1, we're going to use an x, but we have to multiply a and c, in this case, 6 and negative 10, to get negative 60. And then down here we have negative 7. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to make negative 60 and add to make negative 7. Our numbers that multiply to make 60 are 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, and 6 and 10. And that's all of our choices. And we're going to, since it's negative, one of the numbers is going to be negative. Since 7 is negative, it'll be the larger number, so let's go ahead and put those negative signs on each of these. And we're looking for the numbers that add to make 7, and that is 5 and 12. 5 and negative 12. So 5 times negative 12 multiplies to make 60, adds to make negative 7. Those are the two numbers I need. Now, since a is not 1, we need a box. So we're going to draw a box. And into our box, from the equation goes 6x squared. We don't know what this is, but negative 10 goes over here. And the two numbers that go in our two spaces come from the x, 5x and negative 12x. And so now we filled in our box using our x, and now we can continue. So we're looking for the edge of our box, and we're looking for what they have in common. So what will divide evenly into 6x squared and negative 12x, or in other words, the GCF, which is 6x. We're looking for what goes into both of these evenly, 5x and negative 10, which in this case is positive 5. Then these two evenly, 6x squared and 5x, which is just x. Then these two evenly, since they're both negative, it's going to be a negative number, and it is 2. Then we want to check and make sure this makes sense. X times 6x is 6x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Negative 2 times 6x is negative 12x. And negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So everything is good there. That's perfectly acceptable. And so this factors into 6x plus 5 and x minus 2 equals 0. And again, we factored beautifully, but we're trying to solve, so we still have to solve. We're going to apply the zero product property, which says that if we multiplied, one of the numbers has to be 0, since our result was. So x plus 5 is 0, or x minus 2 is 0. So we subtract on this one first, do a 0 pair, we get 6x equals negative 5. Then we divide, and so from this equation we get x equals negative 5 over 6. From this equation we 0 pair, we add the 2, and so x is also 2. So our two answers are negative, x is negative 5, or x is positive 2. Make sure that looks like a 2. So then we have to check. This is the hard part here, because while we can check that fraction, we probably don't want to. Now we actually did a single check by checking our box, but we can check our multiplication. Let's do that first. 6x plus 5 and x minus 2. We want to check and make sure it multiplies back up. So we've got 6x squared plus minus 12x, then plus 5x, then minus 10. And we end up with 6x squared minus 7x minus 10. And so our factoring checks. Then we want to check our other answer. So this again is our check. And we're going to check the positive 2 in our equation, 6 parentheses squared minus 7 parentheses minus 10. We want it to equal 0, and we're going to be plugging in the number 2. So we will get 2 squared, which is 4, so 6 times 4 minus 14 minus 10, which is 24 minus 14 minus 10, which is 10 minus 10, which is 0, and so it checks.